Okay, y'all, good morning on a beautiful Saturday in April in Northwest Arkansas. I'm Linda Smith. I know many of you. I'm with the U.S. Green Building Council. We're the group that really works on sustainable construction and operation of buildings. You know us for our LEED buildings, but I'm here today because I strongly believe that there is so much knowledge and talent and information that we could all use and work together to make the world a better place. 3 groups have come together to organize this second Drawdown conference. The first one was last year in Little Rock at Second Presbyterian Church. And this year, we're glad to partner with Arkansas Interfaith Power and Light, which is a group of faith-based communities that believe in energy efficiency and water savings. They do quite a bit of weatherization work across the state of Arkansas. And many of you know that they received an EPA grant, one of the first given to a nonprofit in Arkansas, to do education in schools about energy and water savings. And so Sharmal could not be here today, but she is the director, soon to retire, from Arkansas Interfaith Power and Light. And they were the primary organizer of the first Drawdown and really the reason we're here today in Northwest Arkansas. I'm with the U.S. Green Building Council, and then this evening, if you stay for the full day or go and come as you need to, the Citizens Climate Lobby will be in this same space with information about what they do and a fundraiser and a relaxed evening of networking with that group. So 3 organizations. It's great in a small state like Arkansas that we can partner with our friends and not have to book 3 different venues to do 3 different events. It's great that we can all be together. You know, one of the things that makes an event successful is both the people in the room and then the groups that support it. We're very fortunate that we've had the support of Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. And I want to introduce Pastor Clint to come up and welcome us to this great facility and talk to us a little bit about what they're doing here in town. Pastor Clint.
So Terry told me I had 15 minutes and Linda told me I had 5, so I'm going to split the difference and take 10 minutes of your time. Yeah, well, welcome to Good Shepherd Lutheran. I want to tell you a couple of fun stories that I hope can be funding for your imaginations today as you're going out to the sessions. We have a couple of members at our church who presented a few weeks ago in our adult forum. The woman, Julie, is a pilot for Walmart, so she flies people all over the country and up into Canada and other places. And then we have another member, David, who is a riverboat pilot on the Mississippi River and takes them up to, I think it's like Lock 18 or something. Like he doesn't do the northern portion of the Mississippi River, he does the lower portion. And we had them come and talk about their roles and what they do, their vocation. And it was fascinating to hear the 2 of them talk about these things because they see the planet literally so differently. Like David knows every twist and turn and bend of the Mississippi River and exactly where to position a very long towboat along with all of the everything that he's pushing all the cargo along on that river. Julie flies over it and sees it from above and can look down on it and can see all the twists and the turns, but she wouldn't necessarily know how to navigate the river if she had to take a boat down it. And so they were going back and forth and talking about those different perspectives. And also, of note, in these 2 roles, if you think about it, think about the United States, think about our role, think about our culture. There's probably nothing as iconic as a job as being a riverboat pilot on the Mississippi River. You know, you think about Mark Twain and you just think about that. And yet today, is there hardly anything more iconic of the way our culture actually is than flying executives from Walmart around the country? You know, I mean, that these 2 things are really, they come together in this fascinating way. And both of them consume a whole bunch of fuel and energy. And then there's one other high consumer of energy that I think about all of the time. It's maybe one of the biggest ones now, although we don't talk about it quite as frequently, but I grew up in Iowa, and I grew up driving Interstate 80 all the time between the Quad Cities and Des Moines. My grandpa was in the state legislature. We would go to the state fair in Des Moines, and so for many reasons we were going back and forth on that road. And that whole time that I was growing up, it was just pigs and cattle and corn and soybeans. And it's still pigs and cattle and corn and soybeans today, except for right as you're coming into Altoona, Iowa, on the way into Des Moines, in addition to pigs and corn and soybeans and cattle, is Facebook. Like literally 3 massive buildings that take up acres and acres of space. All of your data is housed in those. If you're on Facebook, you're on Facebook even if you're not on Facebook. Somebody took a picture of you and you're there, right? And it's all stored there. They had to build special power lines from the state into Altoona in order to be able to power these. It doesn't take a lot of staff. It just takes a whole bunch of energy to store all of our data. And you know, here we are at a Drawdown conference, and we're going to be talking about drawing down energy and all of these ways that we can conserve and take care of the planet, but we'll probably also broadcast this on social media so people can watch it. And you advertised it on Facebook, and you could check in today on Facebook to be a part of this event. So think about, I just wanted to invite us to think about that literal landscape and how we engage it. And one of the failures of the Christian imagination, I think, in the last kind of long period has been that we haven't as frequently thought in these ways as we could have, given the resources that we have. So like when we read the Bible, for example, we pay attention to a whole bunch of different things in the Bible, but one of the things we haven't as frequently paid attention to in terms of reading scripture and ancient texts is the way that even these old texts helped us think about the ways that we steward the earth and take care of the planet, and to be good stewards of it. And in fact, we've kind of often glossed over those altogether and just overly and highly emphasized like what we're supposed to do with the human and what kind of some salvation after this planet is done looks like, all those kinds of things. So the last thing to fund your imagination for today, and then I recommend this to you highly, there's a book that just came out a month ago. The title of it is Hipbillies. Have you heard of this? Okay. Well, I started noticing when I moved to Arkansas that there are a lot of hippies here that I had no idea were here. Before I moved here, the first time I really noticed it was I went to Block Street Party the first year that I was here. And I was like, where the hell did all of these people come from? They're like walking barefoot. They've been walking barefoot so long that their toes are gnarled, and you know it's clear they could walk in the winter snow barefoot, and they've got the long hair and whatever. And I'm like, where did all these people come from? And so I started to learn about the Back to the Land movement that I really had never heard much about until I moved here. That there was a whole community of people that moved to the Ozarks in the 70s and the 80s in particular to basically do this. They were like, we think we're going to change the world. And then they got Nixon. Like literally, right? That's like, they thought they were going to accomplish all these things, and then they got what they got. And they were like, okay, well, maybe we're not going to be able to win at the national thing. Maybe we're not going to be able to change everything, but we can change us. So people, individuals, families, lots of hippies, but not just hippies, lots of different kinds of people all moved here. And the hipbilly movement, that's what this book describes. And what I found is really compelling about it, and I think that you all are, on some level, if you're here, a hipbilly, is you all are imagining what it means for you to do and live in an alternative way to this. Sorry. That's okay. To this like kind of wider culture, right? And I think this is an invitation for all of us to continue to think in those ways. The warning that the Hipbillies book gives is it's not easy. Not all the neighbors liked the Hipbillies that moved into town until they started showing how they were just committed to working really hard as neighbors. And the soil isn't great in the Ozarks for farming. And so they got here and found out that it was going to be really hard to actually do the gardens they idealistically wanted to do. And they had to adjust in a lot of different ways. But it was that living in a different way that I think a lot of us are now considering as one response to where things are in the world. So I'm thankful that you all are here, and I hope that you have a great conference today, and we're just happy to be able to host.
So I think most of you know about the book Drawdown. We like this book, and we have the whole conference scheduled around it. If you do not own a copy, I have some that we're going to be giving away throughout the day. So if you win one in one of our giveaways and you already have a copy, make sure that someone who doesn't have it, you trade with them. The next thing, Drawdown is a factual, science-based book where different people, including one of our own University of Arkansas grad students worked on a chapter, have worked to understand what the latest best practices are and how we can apply those and which ones really make sense, which ones truly would reduce the impact of carbon in the world, and which ones, what would be the cost and what would be the savings. And so there's great things you can do with deep impact that are so expensive that they may not ever come to pass, and others that we're just waiting on just the next little tweak in technology to make it feasible. So throughout the day, I hope you will learn from those pieces that are coming to you from folks who really are in those industries or in those topical areas. You have a schedule in front of you, and I want to just talk a little bit about that schedule. There are 2 tracks. One will be going on in this space, the Alton Hall, and one will be going on in the Fellowship Hall, which is near registration where you came in. And you can move back and forth. You're not obligated to stay in a single track, and you will be on time. We have a room moderator that will keep us on track, and we will be able to keep those topics flowing. There'll be plenty of time for questions and discussion throughout the day. We will come in here for lunch, and Michelle will be here as our keynote speaker, and then we'll go back into our tracks. People are going to come and go. We know there's a lot going on in Northwest Arkansas. So be sure that you do greet your neighbors, say hello to people you don't know, meet some new folks today. Any questions before we break up into our first sessions? Okay, coffee, a juice, muffins. You may have noticed back there we have a bunch of barrels. We're going to be a zero waste event. We've contracted with Food Loops. They have supplied us with utensils and plates and cups that are all compostable. They're made mostly of soy, and then they have brought us these very nice colorful barrels that we will separate our waste, and you will be a part of that, making it happen today, into the appropriate categories so that truly nothing goes to the dumpster, or as minimal as possible here on the church grounds, or that Food Loops is disposing of. So I hope that's a learning activity for you. The other thing that we'll be doing is leftover food will be used. There's a whole group of AmeriCorps kids sleeping in those Sunday school rooms that we just passed as you came down here and doing work in Northwest Arkansas. Any food we have left over, they have said they're glad to take. These are young people, college students mostly, that are out doing physical labor today and are going to come back in, and we'll be able to share our food with them. So we will be moving towards our first session in just a moment, but I have my first giveaway. And so we will do it this way. I want to see who has traveled the furthest to be here. So if you have come from outside Northwest Arkansas, please stand. I know we have several from Central Arkansas. Jenny? Okay, Doug. I'm from Little Rock, okay? Anybody from Oklahoma? Okay. How about anyone from a further state that had to take a plane ride to get here? Where's Michelle? Okay. So it's between Doug and Jenny in the room. Doug's with the Nature Conservancy. Jenny Curris does so many things to help education in Arkansas and works with the Methodist Foundation as a board member. And so let me ask the next question. If you were at Drawdown last year, go ahead and have a seat. Jenny was there. Doug is the winner of the book, How to Be Alive, a guide to the kind of happiness that helps the world. So I hope you appreciate your book. Thank you. Okay, we will be moving for the next 5 minutes into your room. Pick the track that you're most in the way through that.